We've all been marching against Trump, but what has been the tangible result? At the risk of stating the obvious, the only way to get rid of a fascist autocrat is to remove him from power. Since we cannot simply wait for the midterms, which could be severely marred, if not outlawed, we must consider the alternative, namely impeachment.
Though mass demonstrations haven't called for such impeachment, I've attended all the No Kings protests, which have turned out tens of thousands in all sorts of weather. In Brooklyn last fall, participants dressed up in everything from animal costumes to unicorns, an effort to instill an element of absurdist humor to counter fascism. Other demonstrators, meanwhile, dressed up as patriots from the Revolutionary War. A few months ago, in the rain, I attended a No Kings rally. Then, in the wake of Trump's invasion of Venezuela and ICE clampdown in Minneapolis, a protest in Manhattan featured a marching band. Clowns provided a sense of lighthearted satire, while crowds cursed at hated Trump Tower. Later, on 42nd Street near the public library, spirits were high as the march ended on an energizing note in Times Square. Unfazed by cold, protesters have also turned out at Chuck Schumer's house to pressure the Senate Democratic Minority Leader to defund ICE. Others have staged demonstrations in Foley Square in support of migrants. All these protests should be applauded, and hopefully New York will continue its spirit of resistance. That being said, it is disappointing, and that is putting it mildly, that protests have not demanded Trump's impeachment. Under Rule 9, any member of the House of Representatives can force such a vote. Not backing down to pressure, Democratic Representative Al Green has already forced a vote twice, racking up 79 and 140 votes respectively, which isn't such a shabby foundation to build on. Needless to say, the media and even the progressive media failed to provide any decent coverage of the votes. That is a shame, since the American public might be interested to know which politicians are standing up to fascism and which are appeasing authoritarianism. At a certain point, these protests must start to get serious and call for politicians to honor their constitutional oath of office. While no one is saying impeachment will be easy, what is the alternative? At any rate, what do you think? Let me know in the comments and check out links below to my articles about anti fascist resistance.